Ding dong YouTube, welcome back to the channel. I'm the Jobless Coder, and today is the 11th day since the fire at Charleston here in Lake Louise where our building burned down. There's some music playing in the background here at the ski resort, so hopefully that's not too distracting. Today I was scheduled to come into work, but I slept in and I woke up at 9 minutes after 8. And the gondola takes too long to get to the bottom. The bus leaves at 8:30. Also, because of the weather this morning, the gondola at Sunshine Village was not running. I had to wait for a bus to come all the way back to pick me up and drive me to the bottom. By the time I got to the bottom of the hill, the bus had already long departed. So instead, I took a bus into Banff, and then I caught a bus from Banff up to Lake Louise, and then another bus from the village of Lake Louise up to the ski resort. But by that time, it was like 1 o'clock anyways, and my manager said that they weren't really busy in the kitchen today, so don't bother coming in. I am scheduled for the next 3 days off, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I guess I get a 4-day holiday here. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with all this time off. I'd kind of like to be working, given that it's been a while and I need to get back into the routine of things, but the gondola schedule and everything with the buses are just, it's really difficult to try to work around with that at Sunshine Village. You know, if you miss the bus to come up to here when you were living in Chucktown, you could always catch the next one and be half an hour late. If you miss the bus in Sunshine Village, the entire day is done. You can't come to work, really, because it takes too long to get here. And worst case scenario, when we were living in Chucktown, you could always walk. It was a 50-minute walk, about 3-kilometer walk up the hill to get to the ski resort here. But if it's going to be like this going forward, I'm going to have to try my very best to get my schedule together, which is something I've always struggled with. And I was just getting into the routine of waking up at a proper time and showing up and getting on the bus and coming to work, and I was just getting into that routine when all of this shit went down. So for today, what I did instead is when I got to the village, I went to the market to get some groceries or whatever, and then I decided to walk over to the ruins. I have seen them since they've been torn down, but I figured if I had another look around, maybe I might see something that stood out to me. And lo and behold, from the fence line, I can see my suitcase. That is the suitcase where my passport was retrieved from. And I zoomed in on my camera and took a picture of it, and I can see that it is pretty badly smashed up. So something clearly fell on it and broke the hardcover of the plastic. But the suitcase itself still exists. It is there and not burned or melted or anything other than being smashed up. And I figured that my passport was inside of a zippered pouch. They probably took it out figuring they would leave the suitcase because it's basically garbage at this point. My driver's license was also in my suitcase, I realized, because the night before there's a big party they call church night. It happens every Sunday, and I went out to the bar that night, and in order to get into the bar, I needed my driver's license. And when I come back with my driver's license, instead of putting it on my desk where my other cards are, which I have cleaned when I shower, I wash my cards in the sink, I take the cards that I have on me and I put them in the suitcase. So it was sitting in the suitcase. Now, it's not in the suitcase anymore. I talked with Chris DeWalt. He is the individual who is responsible for the cleanup operations. He's the manager of operations here at Lake Louise. And he asked me if I had a picture of the suitcase, so I showed him on my phone, and he recognized that suitcase. He said that he's looked inside of it, and there was nothing inside. So I figure what might have happened is my suitcase was open in front of my bed on the floor, like a book. Maybe a beam or something from the roof as it was falling hit the suitcase and turned it into a little catapult where it sent my driver's license flying out of the suitcase. Now, it could have gone 3 feet, it could have gone 20 feet, depending on the force that the suitcase was hit with. But I figure within at least, a 5 to 10 foot radius of that suitcase where it sits now on top of the pile of rubble, my driver's license has to still exist somewhere, buried under a pile of rubble. It could have gone down to the basement. I heard that the basement had flooded. So it could really be anywhere at this point now, but I am certain that it did not melt or burn because of the state of the suitcase. And now I have definitive proof that the suitcase did survive and is mostly intact, other than being a little smashed and the plastic on the hardcover shell being broken. I don't know if I'll ever get that suitcase back. Frankly, probably not. They'll throw it away. There could be tags on the inner lining with which I can identify the brand or the serial number and model of that suitcase, because I'd like to get another one like it. But you type in hardcover plastic suitcase to Google, and however many million options there are to pick for a suitcase, I don't see one like the one that I had. So if I could get that information about brand or model number, then at least I can go and get another one that was like it. Um, I have reason to believe that of all of the damage that was caused in our room, none of it really was fire damage. Of all the things I've gotten back, none of them have any evidence of fire damage or, melting or anything like that. Hardly even any water damage, to be frank. I got back my Xbox controller and the Amazon Echo Dot, and they don't appear to have any water that was in them. Now, the Xbox controller didn't have batteries in it anyway, so there was nothing in there that it would have short-circuited with. So you sufficiently let it dry off, and it should work perfectly fine. It was brand new. But I think that my dresser is still there with all of my clothes inside. Of course, the roof above collapsing would have broken all the drawers and compressed the clothes, so now it's under this compressed pile of shit on top of it. But other than being smoke damaged, they should still exist right there somewhere within the vicinity of that suitcase. And I couldn't believe it. It's just sitting on top of the pile. There's like a log or something that it's just resting on, and you don't even have to climb on top of stuff to get to it. You literally just stand right there on the pavement and could reach over and grab it. And so, from what Chris was saying, he was saying that he has seen a lot of stuff. He's been in the pile, on top of the pile, around the pile. He's the guy that knows the layout of the building right now the best, after the excavator has now torn everything down. So I was told they were going down there at 2 o'clock today, and that they would be potentially bringing up some more stuff tonight. I don't know if I'll still be here for that, but I might come up tomorrow again on my day off, I guess, to see if I can find some more stuff that might have been salvaged. At least now I have been in communication with someone who is in charge of the recovery effort and have identified for them that this suitcase is mine. So hopefully, if they find some other items and objects in and around the vicinity of that suitcase with which they have retrieved, they'll know that it was me that had those items. Or very likely, it could be my roommate too. But at least now they know it's mine, because before it could have just been anybody's suitcase, but he did recognize it from the picture that I took. So I'm happy to have at least that level of comfort, knowing that someone's not going to take my stuff, because that's the biggest problem when you just pile everything in this giant heap and you say go through it and find what's yours. It's all on the honor system. If there's a really nice electronic device or something that survived and is mostly intact and in good condition, what's to prevent someone from just going and taking it? That Xbox controller was brand new. Someone could have just come along and taken it, but luckily it was there and I found it in the pile, or actually some of my friends helped find it after I described what it looked like. So that is kind of as it stands right now. From what I understand, the demolition crew is not going to be coming in for another 2 to 3 weeks, and with it being raining over the last couple days, of course anything that remains is definitely going to get destroyed by the rain, if it wasn't already destroyed by falling building material or burning or melting, or if it was in the basement which flooded. There's a whole number of different things. My laptop was sitting on top of my dresser. It would have been the first thing that the floor above hit as it was falling, and I just have that slow motion image ingrained in my head of the debris and everything just like colliding with the laptop and crunching into it and just breaking it into a billion pieces. But you never know, fucking miracles happen. Maybe every square inch of that device is smashed but the hard drive, and for some reason the hard drive survived and is still salvageable, can get files off of it. You frankly never know. And unfortunately, without us being able to go down there as employees and survey the area, at least if your house burns down, you know, your personal house, you can go and look at the debris afterwards and see if there's anything you identify. But the biggest problem is by bringing in third-party demolition crew to go through it, they're not going to know anything about who was in what room or the layout of all the items and everything. I know exactly every single item that I had in that room and its vicinity to the suitcase on the floor. So I can estimate that, okay, approximately 5 feet in this direction you should find this, and 2 feet in that direction there should be something that looks similar to this, a hat or a sweater or a jacket or something that may be identifiable by the person who actually owned that, and it could just get easily overlooked by someone who had no idea what the room looked like prior to the fire. So that's about all I have to share for the moment. Thank you for tuning in to these daily updates regarding the situation, and make sure to share the video and give it a like, and I guess I'll see you next day in the next video's update. And until then, see you. Bye.